Hello, everyone. This is Sebastian McMahon from IA Financial Group, and here's another Economy and Finance 101 video, this time on the bond market. So a few videos ago, we covered bonds. So what is a bond, the type of bonds, but here let's look at the whole market. So few definitions to start. The bond market, what that is, it's the debt market, the fixed income market, or the credit market. So those are all synonyms or names for the bond market. And this is the collective name given to all transactions and issuances of debt securities. So the total value of debt that has been written in the world that has exchanged hands constitutes the bond market. So contrary to the stock market, there is no bond exchange per se. There are some things, some platforms, electronic platforms that exist that are very marginal, but generally it's over the counter that these things are traded. So it's really phone calls, and I mean, you have to find someone to buy or to sell the paper that you're looking for, you're looking to sell. And a bond index, so similarly as the stock index, so this is this is a basket of securities, of debt securities, classified according to certain criteria like geography. So you can have Canadian bond or Canadian bond index or a US bond index. Maturity, so short-term bonds, meaning bonds that will be maturing soon, in the next months, next quarters, next years, or long bonds, those that will be maturing in decades, or the type of issuer, so government or corporation. So few definitions to start. Now looking at the bond market as a whole, so might be surprised to learn that the bond market is bigger than the stock market. So data here coming dating from 2020, but showing that the stock market has a total value of about 94 trillion US dollars, so 94,000 billion dollars. But the bond market, which has been around for thousands of years compared to stocks, which have been around just for a few hundred, well, the total value of the market is 128 trillion US dollars, so 128,000 billion US dollars. So that's much bigger than the stock market. So now, what does the bond market look like? Well, and if you, here also a few definitions. So it's mostly governments, and here it says SSA, so supranational and sovereign products. So those debt from governments, federal governments, provincial governments, municipal governments go into the SSA category. And in the gray part, it's a corporate bonds, so debt that has been emitted by companies. So this is the breakdown of the bond market. So looking at the size of all of the markets out there, so the SSA market, if you look at geography, it's about a quarter is in the US, a quarter is in China, but it's still pretty well diversified. The other category, the green part on the left-hand part chart on the screen here, is rather large. And when you look at the corporate bond market, it's even more diversified. So US and China are still very important, but it's spread widely across the globe. So looking at bond indices now, so by no means is this an exhaustive list. It's just what we typically look at and what we tend to base our strategies on. So if we want to invest globally, so the two go-to indices that we would use would be the Bloomberg Global Aggregate Index, which is very broad and covers the whole world, or we could use the EM USD Aggregate Index from Bloomberg, so that from emerging countries that is labeled in US dollar. If we were to invest in US bonds, we could use in the indices the Bloomberg US Treasuries for government debt, corporate for high quality corporate debt, or the US corporate high yield index. So that's higher yielding, so less quality corporate debt. In Canada, the usual suspects are the FTSE Canada indices. So you have the long, you have the universe, you have the long, and you have the corp index. So these would be the ones that you see quoted in financial news generally. And if you were to invest in Europe and Asia, well, Bloomberg Euro Aggregate or the Bloomberg Asian Pacific Aggregate would be two indices that we would be looking at. So again, this is just to give you an idea of the indices that we'll look at when we make analysis, when we make investment decisions. It's not limited to those, but those would be the indices that we spend the most time looking at. So there you go. That was in a nutshell a picture of the bond market. So I hope it was helpful, and I'll be back again in another Economy and Finance 101 video.